I've always loved solo trips. They let me clear my head, escape the monotony of work, and find peace in unfamiliar places. But what I encountered during my last Airbnb stay made me swear off traveling alone for good. It started with a spontaneous decision. After a particularly stressful week, I found a secluded Airbnb cabin about 3 hours from the city. The listing boasted of peaceful views, no neighbors for miles, and total seclusion. It sounded perfect, too perfect, maybe. I booked it immediately, ignoring the few reviews that mentioned the strange atmosphere or how the place seemed off. I figured it was just city folk who weren't used to the quiet. The drive was uneventful, and when I arrived, the cabin looked as charming as advertised. A small wooden structure nestled in the woods, surrounded by tall trees. The only sound was the soft rustling of leaves in the breeze. I felt at ease as I entered. It had that typical Airbnb charm, minimalist decor, rustic furniture, a quaint little kitchen. But there was something else. Felt stale, like the air had been trapped in the cabin for too long. I brushed it off as the place being closed up for a while. After all, I was there to relax, not overanalyze. Nightfall came quickly in the woods. I sat by the fireplace, sipping wine and reading, but an uneasy feeling began to creep in. Felt like I was being watched. The windows had no curtains, and I kept glancing toward them, half expecting to see someone or something peering in. By 10 p.m., I decided to call it a night. I headed to the bedroom, locked the door, and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The uneasiness was growing, but I tried to shake it off, telling myself I was overreacting. That's when I heard it, a creak. It was faint but unmistakable, like someone was walking in the cabin. I froze, straining to hear more. Another creak, closer this time. My heart raced. There was no way anyone could have gotten inside. The doors were locked and I was miles from anyone. I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it around the room. Nothing. The floor was still, the shadows unmoving. But that feeling of being watched intensified. I decided to get up and check the cabin. As I walked through the hallway, the creaking stopped. The silence was heavy, oppressive. I checked every window, door, and even under the furniture, nothing. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I headed back to the bedroom, locking the door behind me. I lay there, eyes wide open, heart pounding, waiting for something to happen. Hours passed. Just as I was beginning to calm down, I heard it again. A faint knock, slow and deliberate. It was coming from inside the closet. I shot up, adrenaline surging through me. The knock continued, steady and slow. I grabbed the nearest object, a lamp, and crept toward the closet. My hand shook as I reached for the doorknob. I yanked it open. Nothing, just clothes hanging neatly. I stared into the empty space, my pulse racing. I could have sworn I heard the knocking from there. Just as I was about to close the door, I saw something that made my blood run cold. A single footprint pressed into the dust at the back of the closet. It wasn't mine. The next few hours were a blur. I didn't stay to investigate further. I grabbed my bag, bolted out of the cabin, and drove into the night, not stopping until I reached a motel miles away. The following day, I contacted the Airbnb host, who seemed unfazed by my frantic recount of the night. "You're not the first guest to say something like that," she said casually. "The cabin's got history. Some people feel it more than others." That's all she said. No explanation, no apology. I left a 1-star review and never looked back. To this day, I have no idea who or what was in that cabin with me. All I know is that something else was there, and it didn't want me around.